Good evening, everyone. This is the Ayer Conservation Commission meeting. It is Thursday, August 10th, 2023. Commissioners in attendance this evening are Jenna Maya as member, George Bacon as member, Jessica Gino as member clerk. We have Mark Phillips as vice chair, myself, John Schmallenberger as chair, Heather Hampson on the opposite side of the room as our conservation agent. Do we have confirmation of agenda?
Yes, no changes.
No changes. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as written?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Passes unanimously. Approval of meeting minutes for July 27th, 2023. Any changes anyone has found?
Just the date on the top.
The date?
I did actually catch that.
I just saw it. I'm like, that's not
No,
the date.
I had that, I did catch that, and then I decided not to harass everybody by sending out all new
I'm
versions.
like, oh, I haven't read them. I'll just read them through. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, that's not right.
I'm making Jen confirm I've got the right date.
It's the 27th, is that the right date?
Yeah.
Yeah, 7/27, not 1/26.
Yeah. I know.
I totally missed
July.
My new Word program, yeah. On my laptop now, Word doesn't automatically show the header area unless I click, and so I'm working on that.
Anything else? Corrections?
Nope.
Good. Motion to approve the meeting minutes of July 27th, 2023 as amended.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Passes unanimously. All right. This is the time of our meeting for public input. If there's anyone out there in attendance who would like to offer a comment or ask a question, now's the time. All right, well, in hearing none, we shall move on to our first item, which is a discussion. 129 Oak Ridge Drive, possible wetlands violation. What can you tell us about that?
So, 2-ish weeks ago, I think it was shortly after our last meeting, or right before our last meeting, I got a call from a neighbor and the DPW director stating that there was trees that were cut down on Oak Ridge Drive at the 129, and the trees were dropped into the pond without permission from the commission. So obviously, dropping trees in the pond is not a wonderful thing to do.
Right.
So
And,
a letter was sent to the owner. I don't know.
okay. Is this the
You
owner?
can come up here.
Could you join us, please?
Ask for name.
And state your name, please, for us?
My name is Euripides Guillen.
Could you spell that for Jess?
Euripides. Last name Guillen is Guillen.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
I never would have gotten that.
No, it's not an easy one.
No, it's not an easy one. So you know why you're here.
Yeah, I got the letter, the citation, and I did read the regulations. I was not acquainted with the regulations, so I did.
Sure.
That's basically what I thought.
Yeah.
You're a new...
And just, sorry to interrupt you, but just to clarify, I did, the trees did fall in the pond, but it was not never my intention. I did try to hold them to be in my terrain, but I did not did that properly, so they fall into the pond, but it was never my intention to cause harm, even though I didn't know also the regulation.
Well, most of us here have been in that same boat. Well, we didn't know when we moved into town and moved into an area close to a pond or wetlands that there were regulations that we had to abide by. These are state Wetland Protection Act, our regulations, and they're designed to protect our wetlands, ponds, streams, rivers, for the health of these wetlands, for not only for us, but for future generations. Every town in the Commonwealth has a conservation commission. and we uphold those regulations. So that's why you were notified. We always go under the assumption that people don't know, and we'll give you some slack.
And again, I do understand, and again, I did read it. I did it based on other checking that, because I did try to inform myself in terms of before doing that to see if it was infringing something or I needed to get some permits. I didn't found anything, because again, I didn't look in the correct place. I didn't know that that the pond it was considered wetland in terms of that it will be onto that until I get that unread. So yeah,
Right.
it is completely my fault in terms of not getting information.
So 100 feet from the water's edge is protected.
Yep.
Yep. How big were the trees?
I had a look from the neighbor's yard. So when you looked and count all the trunks, it counted roughly 8, but what it was there was 2 or 3 that was one tree that just had 2 or 3 trunks spurred off of it.
Yep.
So it really was like 3 main trees, but like 8 trunks, if you counted it. I mean, again, I'm trying to count from the neighbor's property.
Yeah. Are they going to be hard to get out?
I don't know.
One of them, the middle one, it is the one that I'm still trying to get out, that I need to cut in pieces to be able to get it out. And it was that one was because the same, and just to clarify in terms of why I did what I did, is that one is the same as probably, I don't know if you saw the lot beside mine. It has a tree that is already dead, that is on the pond. So mine was the same, was inclined to the pond. So I just was trying to avoid happen that what I saw with the other one, to cutting it down. But again, that inclination was that even though I had it pulled inside the land, it fell into it. So that's what I was trying to protect. The same cutting the other one is because the other one were holding that one, pushing that one inside the pond. That was my
They're all really
my
close
intention.
together.
What size kind of diameters were these?
They couldn't have been more than, I think the biggest one was probably
Okay.
like that. They weren't very big.
30, 40 feet tall?
I don't know how tall, because they were landing in the water.
Is that about 8 inches, 10 inches?
Yeah, at the most. Yeah, they were fairly, maybe probably an average 5-inch diameter trees.
Okay.
I would say.
Were they all leaning, and because they were leaning towards the pond, you wanted to cut them, or were they encroaching on the house? Like, why were you cutting the trees?
No, they far from the house. They basically in the river, in the bank.
Okay.
Yeah, in the water. That was a problem. Again, that's soft soil, so it was leaning, and the other one were linked to that one, to the big one.
Yeah.
That was completely leaning to that, so that one was pulling the other ones into that, in terms of that. So you just cut them again to get it out, to be able to pull the other one back, to avoid that pull.
So have you gotten most of them out of the water now? And just the one that,
Yeah, and I had to stop because I found out the worst way that we have a nest for yellow jackets in the area. So we got by. So I'm trying to see how I get rid of that to be able to complete the process. But yeah, I have, again, I didn't have the intention of it fall in the water, and I do have the intention of remediate and remove all that from there.
yellow jackets are not fun.
Yeah, they had not.
And just so you know, too, in the future, if you ever want to do anything on the property, say with
No.
moving trees, it's as
No.
simple as calling the office.
Yep.
I would go out and look at them. We need to have an arborist go out
Yep.
on site, because we try to leave 6 feet at the most of a stag for wild birds and yellow jackets to live in. Oddly enough. And it keeps, those trunks will keep that soil. You said they're rolling over and then sliding over. Those trees will actually hold that soil there.
Yep.
So the more you leave, the more apt that
Okay.
tree is going to leave that soil from eroding away. And it's not something that we're really ever going to say no to. We just need to know.
Yeah. And again,
Which is one of those
if I have known, I will have communicated that again. I
I
understood that because
understand
the problem that would cause in that one, and the one next to that one was also rotten, was full of insect. So I was doing the good neighbor
Right.
kind of thing in terms of protecting, because I know that there's people that I know that go with boats through that. So I was trying to protect that. But again, I didn't do the best job that could have been done on the situation.
What is this? Is this in the section where it narrows? Is that?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Oh, okay.
That's what I was trying to picture. Like, you kept saying river. I'm like, where's the river on the pond?
I'm trying to say the border where the water goes with the land, but yeah,
Okay. Okay.
it's the river bank. I'm just thinking about that. So.
Would it be okay if I go out tomorrow and take a look at the area and just see how you're taking them out and seeing how the shoreline looks?
Yeah. Okay. We are just piling them. I will tell you to be careful because I think the nest is still there.
Yeah.
I covered it, but still there. If you step on it.
I will keep careful steps.
Yeah.
And you're okay with Heather being there if no one else is
Yeah.
home?
Yeah.
I just want to take a look and see how the trees are coming out and make sure there's
Yeah.
nothing going on the shoreline there.
Any comments or questions?
No.
George? Yes.
Just the issue of the stumps.
Heather brought that up, I think.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
how much is left of the stumps?
They're pretty low to the
Yeah,
ground.
but they can't be removed.
No, they cannot be removed.
just to make
And
that
the stumps have to stay there.
Yeah. No, and they left like 4 feet. So
Yeah, so I was looking
so-
at it from high. I can't tell.
Yeah.
I'll be able to tell better tomorrow.
Yeah.
Anyone have anything else? Everybody happy?
One thing that I have to indicate, I'm gonna travel out of state on Saturday with the family, so we're gonna be 2 weeks off. So when I return, I will continue
Okay.
with
Okay.
removing all the pieces. So it's gonna take a little bit longer than it should.
Okay.
just
Yeah,
because
if
of
I have
that.
any questions, if anyone calls and has any questions for me, I'll just let them know.
Okay.
It's always best to let the office know in case someone calls and asks.
Okay.
How long have you lived in there?
I just moved 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago. Oh, wow.
We're doing some fix it up in the house, and again that's part also my fault that I thought let me do this now, but I'm doing other things, and I took more than I can do at the time. So
Yeah.
if I have been already here or done right now living in there, that should have been gone already. But again all my fault, not a good judge on that situation.
Simple mistake, no worries.
Yeah.
We're all learning.
Welcome to Ayer.
Thank you.
We all
You're
have
gonna
that.
like it, you will. It's a nice town.
It is a nice town. I work in Devon, so I pass over there, and I was living on Little Town in an apartment, so I always pass over here. So it's a good town. I like it.
Thank you
Although
very much.
nobody else in town ever makes a mistake.
Well, I'm coming here, so I'm gonna learn from you. I'm gonna be better.
We appreciate you coming in.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming by. Thank you.
And anytime you have any questions in the future, don't hesitate to call.
Yeah, I do have. I don't wanna. I know there's people waiting, but I need to because I've seen people using boats. I need to check what are the rules for that. I also tried to look for that, but I didn't get a lot of
There
information.
isn't anything, I think, as far as that pond goes. When you're fully moved into the house, and you have any questions, if you want to put in some sort of a dock or a ramp, we can do that. But no, I mean, there's people that use kayaks. I've heard that there's a guy with a little pontoon boat that goes around on there. The chair, John here, he lives on the opposite side
Okay.
of the pond. But yeah, everybody has canoes and kayaks there. You're lucky you have a property right on the water, so whatever you, there's no, as far as I know,
Have
any.
motors?
And that's what I was looking.
There's a guy that
Yeah.
does have one, so.
I was
but
looking
it is
to
kinda
that
shallow.
to get a
It's
pontoon
tricky
because
if
I got the kids. I got a kid with autism, so I cannot get a small boat. I need something that she could walk around in inside that is stable.
Yeah.
So I was looking at a pontoon, but I know that it's big, so that's what
Yeah,
that's
no.
why my asking my
yeah, I would
questioning in terms of what is allowed or where do I can read what is what is
It's
allowed.
a pretty shallow pond.
Yeah, I know
think
it's
you'd have a
5 feet.
hard-
I think it's
Yeah, I
about
think you'd have a
5 feet.
hard time getting a bigger boat in there, but canoes, kayaks, paddle boarding, anything like that you want to do, fishing from off the side of on the bank of your property, that's fine.
Paddle boat.
Paddle boats, yeah, I used to love those as a kid.
I mean, that might work because it's maybe more stable.
Some years there are a lot of weeds underneath the water. We treat it every year.
Yeah.
But it's not only shallow but very weedy, which with a outboard motor you could get caught up in stuff.
Yeah. No, I was thinking of using doing something like that, and without the any motor, just getting a rope, just getting it out and pulling it in. So basically, just again, I don't need to go around. It's just to be for them to be in the water.
Yeah.
It's just things like that. But again, that's the information I was looking for. So if you say that everything mostly is allowed, so I'm
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
Good. just let us know before you do it, just in case somebody likes to call, I can be like, no, I know.
Not a problem.
This town isn't as bad as other towns I've worked in, that people on ponds, that I used to tell people in other towns, anytime you want to plant a tree, just tell me, because someone will call and complain. This one is not nearly as bad, so I haven't run into anything, but if you have any questions, you're looking at doing any work along the water or on it, just call my office and let me know, just in case anybody driving by has a question. I can say, no, I already know.
I just want to enjoy
Saves
enjoy
this from
that
having to
again.
happen again.
I just enjoy that as my kid again. As they saw some people on a boat, they asked me about that, and that's the only thing.
Nice to meet you.
Sounds
Nice to meet
good.
you too.
Thanks for coming in, and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you.
Thank
good.
you.
Thank you so much.
Stay dry.
Garden's getting water today.
Is it raining?
It was when I came in.
It's still sprinkling, I think.
Yes. Okay.
All right, our next item this evening is a request for determination of applicability, Peroni Park, Kitty Junction Playground. Good evening.
Good evening.
How are you?
I'm well, and yourself?
Good, thank you.
Comments, Heather's not next.
And you state your name, please, for our minutes.
Sure. Randy Collins, Vice President with Beta Group, landscape architect, and the project manager for this project for the town.
Okay. All right. You want to give us a little overview?
Sure. How familiar are you with Kitty Junction? I know some people sitting here are familiar with it.
With the old one?
The old one that was taken out and the soil remediated. So the large parking lot for the park is up here. So the restrooms are right over here. The pond is right in this zone, and ball fields on either side. The pressure-treated play structure was removed last fall, as was some of the contaminated soil, and the condition of the site was basically left that way in preparation for the plan to put in a new playground. The prior year, we went through a process with the rec department and had a couple of public meetings and got some input from the community on how best to reestablish a playground here. The design that was originally shown at the first public meeting, it was ovals like this, but these two ovals came together, and this was sort of an island in between. Given that more than a few inches of soil was taken out, there was concern about the trees, so a good chunk of the trees were removed. We have 3 oaks that we're trying to save. I stopped by on my way here to see how they were doing. But one of the things that we did, making a modification, was to open that up so that we could push the play areas further away from the 2 oaks in the center. The other things that we've done as we were moving the project forward to get it ready for going out to construction was to pull as many of the improvements out of the 100-foot setback, so that we were able to do that by making some other additional changes. Prior to that, some of the sidewalk of this play area and some of the sidewalk of that play area was within the 100-foot setback, and the fence that was along this side was removed as it was in the 100-foot setback as well. So I can go into further detail if you'd like, answer any questions.
How much soil was removed? Depth, I mean...
It varied. It
Yeah.
went, so it depended, they did testing to establish the soil contaminants and how far they had to go down. So they did a first pass that was varying between 6 to 12 inches. Then they did retesting to see if they needed to take additional soil out, which they did. I would say there's a pretty large area that was taken out in this zone, and this area was dropped quite a bit as well. This not so much, and over here not so much. The soil, they tried to leave as much soil around the existing trees. If you were to go out there today, the roots are exposed. So as they're oaks are pretty sensitive to modifications of the soil around their roots. So we were just having a conversation this afternoon about we'd get one more look for the season to see how they do. The plan is, as part of the construction documents, is to try to do as much as we could to preserve them. We're going to have the arborist, town arborist, take a look as well. So if there's anything that we can add into the contract to save them. I noticed a little dieback. In my experience, oaks don't respond all that well to that kind of disruption. So one of the things that moving forward, if we leave them, is to keep a close eye on them, because we don't want to have anything happen as far as limbs coming down in the future.
And I take it those are the two shades in the middle there, those two?
These two, and this one this one's a double trunk oak. These are each single trunk oaks.
Okay. And all the newer small ones are plantings that are proposed?
Those are the plantings that are proposed. Those plantings are going to be done by the town. They're going to do them after the installation of the playground.
Okay. So did it end up being, roughly 12 inches around those oak tree roots also? Depth?
Not as much around the double trunk. As a matter of fact, on the back side, on the ball field side, it's really maybe a few inches. When you get over to the two in the middle, it varies, but I would say on average, probably somewhere around 4 to 6 inches was removed.
Okay.
You can still see some of the larger roots that are there.
Yeah. Okay.
And you're going to cover them up?
Yeah.
So what exactly is the work you're doing that's in the buffer zone? It's,
There's some grading
okay.
over in this zone. So we're going to be having to raise a little bit of the site, especially up in that corner over there. And then we're taking out the walkway here. We're tying a new walkway in here. This is going to get replaced in its location, this section of walkway. And we're putting a little bit of a bump out right there. And we're going to, in that slope on the hill going down to the flat lawn area over here, a slide, and then a bunch of stepping stones to get back up the hill, so that it can become more of an adventure play. So we've got this lawn area, and then the larger lawn area sort of acts as one with the walkway cutting in between the two of them.
Sounds like fun. Questions from commissioners?
Any no fencing in the buffer zone?
Nope, we took the fencing out of the buffer zone.
Okay.
Comes down this side to about here, and this one comes to about there.
So there's no fence between so is it open on the,
This is open through
okay.
that zone.
okay.
One thing that was on site when we were out there before, almost at the bottom of your plan, was that there was a big pile of debris. Grass cuttings and tree lip.
Over in
Yeah.
this zone, yeah.
So we're assuming that's not going to continue and will be removed.
I'll let the folks know that need to know about that.
I appreciate that. Because we don't want that stuff decomposing and then
Right.
going into the pond.
Yeah, and that stuff shouldn't be dumped there in the future either.
Right.
That's a whole other conversation.
I didn't draft anything for this evening because I didn't know with the remediation and everything that has occurred on site, if the commission wanted to go out and look at it. Because I've been out a couple times and it is quite a change from what was there before. So I did leave that part out of the meeting today. I did not have the determination completed. I did have some questions in regards to the amount of grading that's going to go on, because from the 100 foot to the edge of work, which is probably, I don't know, about 25, 30 feet, the whole playground is going from 227 down to 223. So it's a 3 to 4 foot slope that's going straight down. And I asked the question of if there's going to be any sort of cause this whole site from the top, it peaks by the big oak tree in the center, and then it just gradually everything slopes all the way down towards the pond. My question was if there's going to be any stormwater management done for it. It's probably overreaching because it is a lot of grass, but it with the sensitivity of Grove Pond, I didn't know if the commission would want to see anything there. If we want to go take a look at the site just to see if it is needed.
It's a
just-
fairly long level
It is a
area.
pretty, yeah, it is pretty long, but you are looking at something where it's, so I don't know if you guys wanted to go look at it. I might just be
Yeah.
overly sensitive and
And we did-
overthinking things.
When you were talking to Nate, we did take a look at that. There were
Yeah.
a number of different things that we considered, from putting in rain gardens or some stone trenches that would take up the water. The stone trench idea was pretty much put out quickly, only because we were concerned with kids throwing rocks and that type of thing. The rain garden, we'd end up taking and doing more work within the buffer and around the roots of the oaks on the downhill side of that. So we thought that that might not be the best approach. One of the things that we did think about doing was to add in some buffer plantings that could reinforce the vegetative buffer along the pond's edge as a way of trying to help offset that. And we added in some more trees than what was in the original plan as well.
Okay.
What about maybe, I know that they've got the rain garden up top there, right? On the upper left-hand side. What about a similar rain garden right there, kind of right next to first base, if I'm seeing that properly? Just outside the 100-foot, that little kind of spot? Yeah, just down in there?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I'd be concerned with is, foul balls and kids running to go catch the foul balls. I mean, that's, first base is right there. That's only about 20 feet or so.
True.
Yeah.
Then that rain garden is, there's going to be, this will be, the only impervious areas will be the walkways, these walkways. The playground surfacing is pervious. This is all going to be established as grass areas. So I'm not anticipating a large amount of flow coming off of the playground area once the grass has been established.
And at least it's not leaching PCBs anymore.
It is positive.
What are those things that you're putting up? Like, what is that, like, long H-like looking structure?
This?
Yeah, what is that thing?
A zip line.
Oh, okay.
I mean, yeah, don't get,
love
I mean,
those things.
yeah, the kids love those things. It's really not, you're an adult, they're not as fun as going on the ones in the treetops,
Sure.
but no, that's pretty cool. So this is a double zip line. One will be accessible. We have 6 swings here, a larger 5 to 12-year-old playground here, and then a smaller 2 to 5 playground there. All of them will be sort of in a naturalistic character. The colors will be sort of muted. For instance, the slide will look like a hollowed out log. It's made out of high density plastic, but it's meant to be something that's a little more nature based in its character.
They have that at Benson Park in Hudson, New Hampshire.
Do you have an urge to go and look? Site walk?
What does George say?
George?
It's not an overwhelming urge.
How about you, Mark? You want to go out and take a peek?
Yeah,
Jen?
I'm good.
I don't
Been there enough.
feel the need. I did have questions on the slide though that you're putting down below.
Yes.
Like what type of digging or how will that be installed?
So there'll be a footing both at the top and the bottom. Otherwise, there's the in-between area will be resting on the grade.
Okay.
That's just meant to have an area to tie it in so it doesn't get moved around and doesn't get knocked out of place and hurt somebody.
Okay.
Yeah.
Metal slide?
Plastic. Yep.
So is the top of the slide right at the same elevation as the walkway?
It'll be pretty close to that. Yes.
Just right for skateboarders?
Hopefully not. Hopefully not. One thing that Nate, who's working on the project with me, one of the things that we thought about doing there is putting in a bit of a gap, but we've got to just be careful that it doesn't, in and of itself, present a safety hazard by getting a foot caught in twisting an ankle or something like that.
Anything else? Heather, you have any more?
No.
Shall we take a vote, or shall we issue a negative determination?
Any conditions?
Any conditions?
That pile.
The pile of, the big debris pile, removed and not added to, if that's something that could be added.
And one of the things that we could do is, as part of the condition, is maybe do some restorative planting in that area as well.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and make sure,
Controls.
Erosion controls during?
Yeah, there'll be erosion control all around it. The intent was to leave the erosion control, which they did do from the remediation work. There are some locations where it's not really in place anymore.
Oh, it's busted open.
Yeah, especially along this ball field side, to a point of about here. It's all in pretty decent shape there, but in any case, any location where it's no longer doing what it's supposed to do, they're gonna be replacing it as part of the project.
Okay. You want to go and take a look at that before?
yeah.
Thank you.
And just make sure the Parks Department knows if they get rid of that debris pile there, not to put it further down on the shore somewhere else.
Trucked away.
Yeah, not in the buffer zone.
What do we want to put the sign in? Our Grove Pond sign.
The one that's, what
We
about
left
it?
by the parking lot?
The one by the parking lot?
Yeah, that we didn't put in yet. Should
We
it be
can-
done by them or let DPW do that later?
Later,
Okay,
let's get it. We can discuss that another time,
okay.
I would think. Or just put it in ourselves.
Put it in ourselves.
Yeah. But let's
Beat that.
see
that
the
bolt right
finished thing first.
Okay. Sounds good.
See you play around first.
Alrighty, so is there a motion to issue a negative determination at Peroni Park, Kitty Junction Playground?
So moved.
Second?
All in
With-
favor,
With the conditions as noted.
with the conditions as noted? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you for showing up.
Thanks.
It's gonna be nice. Nice addition. I'm hoping those trees make it.
Me too.
You're not hoping?
What's the timeline now?
First place.
The town has ordered the play equipment already. Now they're saying somewhere between 20 to 26 weeks for delivery, which that ends up being pretty much into December. So we're hoping that we can get it delivered sooner than that. We're gonna issue a contract to put in the soil, put the sidewalks in, do whatever grading and erosion control that we have to do, and that we would anticipate being done sometime maybe in the middle of October to November, probably be done by the end of the month of November, with hopes that that would coincide with about the time that the playground equipment will be delivered and that it can be installed. So just knowing how things go and not being able to get much grass growing after the middle of October or so, I would anticipate there'll be some work done in the spring.
Okay,
All right,
good to know. Thank you, Mr. Collins.
thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Our next item this evening is the continued public hearing that we will open under the Wetlands Protection Act and also under the Area Wetlands Bylaws. Notice of intent, DEP file number to be,
It's
it's the 100-0485.
485.
Got the number.
I got the number this afternoon at 3:44.
0485.
At 3:44?
3:44. So not in
We
time
had-
for the agenda.
Hot off the press.
Oh, yeah.
know if they'll need it or not.
We had spotty internet today. Verizon was,
Working in the area, as they say.
yeah, they were working.
T-Mobile worked perfectly well all day.
Do you like T-Mobile?
How do you get that big?
Give me a little box and I plug it in and it's like magic. It's like a 5G thing. Like a little more
Word to
hotspotty.
the street?
Can you state your names, please, for our records?
My name's Kean Hamill. I'm with DMG Investments. Yeah.
Super cheap.
And I'm Drew Garvin with Bowler Engineering, the civil engineer for the project.
Welcome, gentlemen.
And could you spell your name for me?
Sure. First name is Kean, C-I-A-N. Last name is Hamill, H-A-M-I-L-L.
And your D&G.
DMG. Yeah.
Alrighty, what have you got for us?
So we presented last month, and following that presentation, there was a site walkthrough on July 22nd. We didn't receive any further comments or questions after the site walkthrough, so we're hoping we can get approval on the application.
I remember that sidewalk.
I heard, I was not there, unfortunately, one of my other coworkers was, but I heard bugs were about ready to carry some people away.
They were pretty fierce.
I think we should go back and check again.
No. Yeah, that was something.
I did miss it, so.
Oh, we should have another one so Jen can explain.
I wouldn't mind having another one that's, maybe it won't be quite as buggy, because I felt like we couldn't see as, if you wanted to, just couldn't get in the shade at all. The only question I have is the comments from the last time you were here in regards to the square footage of the snow storage and the square footage of the parking area that's going to be plowed, if we have those numbers.
I do.
Awesome.
The square footage of the snow storage areas, they're two small ones that amount to about 1,500 square feet
Okay, but together?
together.
Okay.
And the amount of the pavement, and if you can remember, there's some under a building and there's some open. So the amount of the pavement open to the sky, which I thought the question was about 28,200 square feet.
And I can't really get a sense in my head of 6 inches of snow piled up. Is that going to fit?
It would not fit in the snow storage areas, no. Some would have to be trucked off site, and Keenan tends to have a maintenance plan, including snow for the building.
I think one of our concerns was having the snow stockpiled there after it's treated, after the parking lot's been treated. That was a concern.
Yeah, that and I don't know if that's the area that ends up being close to the floodplain.
That's not the area?
That is the area.
That is the area.
That is the area. So that's the other is the issue, the snow storage in that area as a whole. Two combined areas. I'm pretty sure mostly in the same area, 1,500 square feet. I mean, even if you have a 3-foot pile of snow sitting there, that's contributing already to a snowy. Plus all the snow melt from anything else. I just, it might cause just an area of concern to think about.
They're both outside the flood plain.
The floodplain, but they're in the buffer, right?
No,
Just
neither are in the
outside?
buffer. Just this is outside here, and that'll be a fairly level area.
So that's
And then there's
one
another
area there where the
here.
emergency parking is?
Yeah, not in the emergency parking. This is not emergency parking. These two spaces are. It would be lined around it. The red. So we have a small area here and then a small area up top.
On top, right.
And both are, again, outside the floodplain area.
Oh, okay. But they're just close to it.
So yeah, I mean, I think they're the best we can provide for this site.
Where's the floodplain line there?
It's here. It's hard. So see how it points here and then comes out. And this is based on a contour line, so that's why it's squiggly.
Okay,
But
thank you.
that's it right there.
That's the floodplain?
Yes.
It's close. Anyone else have any comments or questions?
But still, 1,500 feet for 28,000 feet. That's quite a
So
Quite a
we will
ratio.
also be trucking the snow off-site.
Probably every snowstorm?
Yeah. Most likely.
So could that be just truck it off as a matter of,
Yeah, we can definitely incorporate. I mean, we're going to have a landscaper on board as one of our ongoing consultants, and that can be written into the agreement that they have to be out there every time there's a snowfall and just remove it from the site.
Think of the Peroni Park.
I'm sorry?
Take it over to Peroni Park and just dump it on there.
Oh, slitting hill.
They got rid of that big pile of weeds, and now we got a place to put it.
Hey, you make a slitting hill.
Thank you. Thanks.
Okay.
I'm good.
Jen?
I think one of the main items as well is the planning board has not conducted any of their peer reviews yet, and the item is still open in regards to the planning board for them to make their decision. I don't know how the commission feels of leaving, or closing the, and issuing anything, or closing the public hearing in regards to the project without any definitive at all decision from the planning board where they're still under review.
How much under review?
They still have to go to peer review.
We had a meeting with the planning board on Tuesday, and they haven't made a decision if they will be doing a peer review for the entire project or just for traffic. So they haven't made any determination yet.
So they're not going to change their mind on the basic.
Well, there's a question on having a peer review on traffic, water, sewer storage, capacity, and/or parking. There hasn't been decision on what the peer review would be. Those are the three items that they've discussed. I just didn't know how in my head, if the plan were to change, I'd hate to see the commission go through, make the decision, find out a month down the road, the planning board has come back, the plans have to change, and now we have to go through the process all over again with public hearings to do an amended order.
Right.
What do you think?
I think we should wait.
All right.
They're not going to get any, I mean, in my head, they can't do any construction without the planning board's decision.
Right.
So it doesn't really hold, on the town side, doesn't hold anything up, not.
I mean, I think we assumed it would be a condition of approval to have the other approvals of the town boards in place, and obviously the planning board being the main one. So I say that only at some point, I assume the planning board will go a little longer than
Yes.
what we need to meet with you guys. So I didn't know if, based on what you're just saying, I don't think, we were hoping that it wouldn't need to be continued on, never ending until the planning board approves, and it could just be a condition.
I don't see it being never ending until the planning board. I would just like to see the planning board head be a little bit more, I know you have multiple items before the planning board, it's not just one. You have parking waivers, you have special permit for aquifer? No? Yes?
Yes.
Okay, plus the site plan. So I just would like to see the planning board somewhere in the verge of making some sort of decision. I understand that some items might be outstanding, and I get that. I just would like to see them more than just having a single meeting. They haven't even opened the public hearing for the special permits yet. So I just would like to see them a little further along.
Also, weren't you getting something from Natural Heritage?
Yes,
Yes.
that hasn't been done yet, and that was DEP's comments to hold off until those
Yeah.
have been submitted.
We're expecting those. I think we're just short of their deadline to respond by a few days. So we should hear from them early next week. I don't have the exact date in my head.
Okay. Well, I don't believe we're going to be holding you guys up, so I think we will just wait and continue.
The planning board meets again on the 22nd. That's when they'll decide on their peer review. And I believe that's when they'll be opening the public hearing for the special permits. Our next meeting is that Thursday, the 24th. I will not be here for that meeting. It doesn't mean you can't discuss this or if you want to wait.
And the 22nd is when they'll decide if they're going to require.
What they're going to be requiring for peer review.
Okay.
If anything at all.
Yeah.
Are you out that whole week?
No, just that Thursday and Friday.
Okay, so you can kind of give us the.
Oh yeah, I'll have
dates and
everything
stuff.
all done, and I don't know how much. I don't know how much I'll be on Thursday yet. Still waiting on my sister.
So that date again was the 24th?
24th.
Yeah, that's our next meeting. Yeah.
But,
It's up to you when you want to continue it to.
yeah, I mean, don't want to have you guys have to come in just to sit here and,
To be continued.
yeah. Yeah, so by the 22nd, we should have an idea if the planning boards, if there's any concerns that you have.
Thankfully, we are, I believe we're keeping with the schedule as similar to the planning board. Yes, so the planning board meets the 22nd, we meet on the 24th in August. Their next meeting in September would be the 12th, we meet that Thursday on the 14th. So we're on the same schedule week as the planning board. Thankfully, right now, that kind of helps, sometimes helps out.
Do you need to the planning board meets on that Tuesday, do you need to have the agenda posted before they
The
meet?
agenda gets posted before. Do I? I have our meeting posted prior to, after their meeting agenda is posted.
Okay, but if they're meeting on the 22nd,
Yeah.
they will not be done
No.
with this on the 22nd.
No.
So there's no reason why we could just,
My suggestion would be wait until the September 14th.
exactly.
Because then
That's
by
right.
then, the planning board will have gotten some
Yes.
space and gotten along and would know better where they, and we would know better where they are.
And if we know the planning board's working with the same site plan as far as we're concerned, before the 14th, then once we know what the planning board's doing, you could circulate informally a draft of the
Correct.
conditions and get any comments. So if there were no issues, then we could
Yep.
potentially close it on the
Potentially close it
14th.
on the 14th,
too.
yeah.
I think that's a good path forward.
Okay, I assume that's acceptable.
Yeah.
When, speaking of the draft, so when would you anticipate that being circulated to us, let's
So
say?
the planning board meets on the 12th. Their agenda would be up and posted
Yeah, it wouldn't be
typically
until
that
the week of the
Thursday.
18th.
Typically that Thursday before, so that'd be the 7th. I could probably have something drafted, ready to go for the 11th.
But you're gonna be out.
So this is September.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I was looking
Right.
back in August.
That's a long vacation, Heather.
Well, I do have 3.5. I did save a lot.
So
no.
roughly draft conditions by 9/11.
Yeah.
Great. For review in time for the 14th. to Hopefully close things out.
Yeah, and it would be more or less just, I don't see there being sacks of snow at this point, planning board's decisions. Yeah, natural heritage stuff, what's in theirs.
Right, which we'll have by then, certainly.
Yeah.
That'll be good.
Any other discussion?
It's the porous pavement.
Motion to continue the public hearing, notice of intent, DEP file number 100-0485 until our September 14th meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
I
Opposed, nay. Passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks.
Oh, get you here.
I can get it, it's okay.
Okay. I have a tendency to forget sometimes to get them to two people.
Didn't we forget it last night?
Have a good evening.
Good night.
No, it was the soya.
Good night.
Good night, thank you.
It was the soya last time.
So our next item this evening is a discussion proposed minor changes to the wetlands bylaw for the fall town meeting.
Yes, so as you can see from all the wonderful piles of paper I have here, I have been working over the last week and a half on revising our existing bylaw for this fall town meeting. And what I have for you all is what existing that we have. I did redline some items in there. And then some other towns and what they use in their regulations that I would like to see everyone's comments on. Typically, all I really want to do, I just want to do some minor changes, because I know when we did these the first time, it was more of a, not to say rush job, but it was a want something on the books that so we have a bylaw. It wasn't necessarily, and it's been several years, it's been a couple years since we've done that, going through other towns and finding things. So what I'd like to see changed, I did go through some of the towns and I revised the jurisdiction section to more or less be a bullet point on what our jurisdictional areas are. I would like to try to beef them up a little bit more and add 150-foot jurisdictional area around vernal pools, certified or not, which our definition doesn't state it has to be a certified. And the town of Lancaster already has this where we have intermittent and perennial streams have to meet the 200-foot buffer requirement. I think especially with this past summer that we've had with all the rain, I don't think it'd be unnecessary to see that intermittent streams are just as important as a perennial stream when we have a heavy rain season. And unfortunately with the climate going the way it is, it's going to be a more common thing.
Quick question for you.
Yes,
So red is new?
Red is
or
new.
this has been changed?
red is new.
So there was nothing there before?
No, there was, it's before, it's, what's there now is in black, and what I'm proposing is in red.
Oh, okay, thank you.
The other section, I would like to possibly in the future add application fees. We are one of the few towns that does not do that. So it is written in here that it can be put into our bylaws, to our regulations, so I just added some wording that stated there will be a fee structure added to the regulations. It wasn't specifically spelled out that way, it just said that it could be, but it wasn't.
Fees for everything that we need?
We don't have to do fees for everything, just fees as a whole. I know the commission has a strong thing on RDAs and having those not have something because it's a burden to the homeowners. 100% understand that. I'm looking more for notice of intents because there's different categories. So if you didn't want to do category 1 or we could do different fees for each category. That's something we would discuss going forward into the regulations. Because you having them in the regulations, we don't have to go to town meeting every time to change them.
So putting this in there will give us the freedom to kind of make those decisions.
Yeah. The other thing, if you look through them, is the section 3, the presumptions. I included what the town of Groton has listed in theirs, which I thought was very nice. Do you guys want to read that? We don't have to change it. Just thought it might be nice, but we don't have to. These are your regulations. I would like to beef up the definitions. So I have included North Andover and Framingham has pretty extensive a definition list in their bylaws and or regulations to try to look through and add some more definitions into ours. If everyone seems presentable. I do want to also, I included a couple towns that have enforcement where they spell out what each offense would be or what each category would be. I run into it in other towns where they didn't have anything like that, so they would, they would on occasion just make up whatever amount they wanted to, and obviously you don't put a fine on there to collect money, but it really makes it sound unreasonable to the court when there's every time you're making up an amount. Whereas if we have it in the bylaw that says, okay, first offense is this, second offense is this, third offense is that, it's easy. Everyone knows what their fine's going to be. Or another one had, another town had just, it was $100, if it was a violation in this section, if there's a violation of this section. So there's 2 different ways to do that. Get your opinion on that. And the only other item was from the town of North Andover again. This was in their regulations, so I don't know where we'd want to put it, but they spell out the areas, additional wetland resource areas protected under the bylaw and regulations, and it goes through each section and spells out where there's a no disturb, where there's a setback, where there's a no build, and I just thought that was nice. And whether we wanted to try to add that into our bylaw or our regulation, we could review that for a later time. But I would like to just try to make some small minor corrections going forward this time, just try to beef them up a little bit, give us a little bit more jurisdiction. When it comes to the vernal pool area, we have, typically they're in the middle of a wetland, like this West Main Street ones. I don't think adding that 50 feet on would really do much on that aspect of it. If it's in the middle of a wetland, because you already have the edge of that, then you have the wetland and the edge of that, it might not make a difference, but all these creatures that are breeding in there are then traveling somewhere else. So to add the buffer just that extra bit would give these animals a little bit more of a area to go on. And if it got shut down at town meeting, then we could always try to add into the regulations or something later on for a no build for 75 feet like the town of North Andover does.
Yeah, those little critters go further than
They do.
150 feet. So
Well, because you had to figure those pools only have water for about 2 months.
yeah.
They breed, their eggs hatch, and then they're gone. Where did they go? They don't stay on the property.
Right.
Otherwise, people would see them constantly. You don't. So they're obviously traveling further out. So just to add a bigger buffer would just protect that area as they're crawling out and moving that much more.
Yeah.
And growing in, too. So,
Maybe more than 150.
I mean, I think just adding 50 feet onto it wouldn't be a super shock to anybody when they hear that we're extending our jurisdictional area. I don't want to cause too much alarm to anybody that, oh my God, now I can't build on my property, what are you doing? It's more or less just to create more of a buffer that we're overseeing the activities in these areas. It's not to say you can't, it's just now we're taking a better eye on them. More water is coming in, these vernal pools might get larger in the springtime, and so just having that extra would abide by that, because one year it might be 100 feet across and next year it might be 125 feet across. You don't know, so adding that extra buffer I think would make a big difference. Just
It's a big question mark going forward.
Everything's going to be a big question mark going forward, and just adding just a little bit more jurisdiction for us just to oversee projects gives everybody more of a protection. I mean, North Andover, they have all theirs, but like to add the intermittent streams like Lancaster has, it never deterred anybody. I worked there for 5 years. And we had more applications. That was more or less it. But you look at all the rain we had on Tuesday. Having that extra protection and oversight on what happens in perennial and intermittent streams could make a difference between someone's basement getting, a foot of water in it or just getting a couple inches. Because they're overseeing the activities in those streams that don't have any protection under the Act now.
So you want us to,
If you guys could review the things I gave you, give me, I figured the next meeting, because we have to open the public hearing at some point in September. Whether gonna need 2 meetings for the public hearing or just 1. If we need 2, we have to open it the first meeting in September. If we're gonna need just 1, we can hold off to the 2nd. So I just need to get a draft done for that meeting. So I just wanted to get everyone's opinion on how they see it going, if they like any of the information that I sent you, how they want the enforcement of the fees to go. Do you like the 1 offense, 2 offense, or just it's a blanket for each this violation or that violation, and I can incorporate those in. Again, the presumptions, I like how Groton is worded. A lot of the towns I saw would include in their bylaws certain areas of town that were important, like, we have the Nashua River, or you have North Coast Brook, you have these streams that are important, and this is what we're protecting and why. We don't have that in ours. Just the same, and it's just, again, drafting, these are not easy and fun to draft. We have in our purpose in section B, the whole paragraph, so I put in italics in regards to the EPA and Army Corps. I didn't see that anybody else's bylaw. So I don't know why it's there. You want to keep it, that's fine. I don't think it's necessary. But again, you guys put it in there for a reason, so I just spent a lot like, do you want to keep it? Okay.
Is that in the template for the state?
It might have been, but I said I looked at, my desk has been covered. I've been looking at 7 or 8 different ones, and I haven't found it in a single one, or regulations. And typically, so North Andover has a really good one, Amesbury has a good one. Their bylaw is on average 8 to 12 pages, and then their regulations are 40. So that's what I'm trying. Yes, 40 pages. Yeah. They take the definitions. Some of them have the definitions in their regulations, so that's where a lot of the pages come from. Their bylaws are so narrow, but that's the point. You have a narrow bylaw and a big regulation, so that's what I'm trying to get there and have that look that way.
okay.
Why would we need 2 public hearings?
In case there was any opposition or major changes, we don't have to. So we're trying to get everything narrowed down before that. So like I said, that's again why we're only doing minor changes now, because we do have a time crunch. I know it sounds weird, but we do. And again, the jurisdiction areas, that's to add the language so we can have the fees added into the regulations.
So we had no C before, but by putting the C in.
We had no C before, and it's in the application and fees.
So our C was D?
Yes. It just says, it said something like, where is it? There was a, Oh, yeah, it's D, an application will not be considered complete unless and until applicant pays an appropriate fee in accordance with, it wasn't, there was, it doesn't say that we can have anything. Yeah, there wasn't anything in there that said we could have one in our regulations, and I don't know, someone who sits there and spends, like with West Main Street, a solid 2 or 3 days just reviewing plans and making comments. I know it takes up a lot of time to review some plans, and in moving forward, the whatever fees we have, we can't use those for anything but implementing the act. So you can only use them to do things like that. So you can use them for any number of activities and stuff in town. So mediation.
So you're saying if we collected fees, we could use them more broadly then?
More broadly, yeah. You can use up a certain percentage of them to pay for staff, and the rest can go towards any sort of implication of the Wetlands Protection Act as a whole. So restoration work, we can use those for that.
I think some of our hesitancy in the past about fees was when I started on the commission in 2008, we had a 10-hour agent, and then we had to fight, didn't we, to get it up to 15 hours? And then we wound up paying extra out of our wetland fund for some additional hours, and then it was, the next battle was getting this up to a full-time position, which we now do. And then, was it one of the last meetings we got approved for at least part-time help. So I think that's sort of why we were a little bit reluctant at this point to do that, because we were getting all these.
Yeah, no, and I understand that. When I was in Littleton, they were a flat $15 fee. That was it. Anything you wanted to do, and I'm like, well, that's funny, because you could just do a.
I'm not automatically opposed. I'm just.
Yeah. So it's just one of those avenues where it makes larger projects pay more attention that these things are getting looked at, because they are, and if they don't, to them, it's subdivision, they know that there's a cost to doing permits. I had a call today or yesterday if there was a fee for an extension. I said, no. Oh, okay. Because typically an extension will either be a flat fee or it'll be half the original fee. If someone gets a notice of intent after a violation, it'll be doubled. The same thing with a building permit. You do things like that, and it just shows, don't do work without a permit, because you're gonna pay more. It just gives some sort of a look.
That makes sense for like the larger projects, right?
Yeah,
but I
it
would
makes
just
sense
want to
for
be really
larger projects.
mindful
The way
not to
DEP's
dissuade
fees are set up,
homeowners from telling us about stuff.
Yeah, DEP, the way their fees are set up, it's category 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that's how we would set up our fees. If we were to do them just for NOIs, the fee would be based on the category. So it's category 1, it's the lowest fee. It's the category 5, which is I think a full subdivision or industrial, then that's the higher fee. And you would just do things like that. We don't have to do them for RDAs. We don't have to do them for extensions if you don't want. We have to do them for COCs. I mean, those are all things, other towns do fees for all of them. You don't have to do that. It just gets the language in there that if we wanted to going forward, it's in there now. So we can create it in the regulation. And then so the definitions, again, we don't have to change them. I was just looking in and go, wow, some towns have like 7 pages of definitions. I'm like, I bet you that's nice. That might clear up some things. It might cause more confusion. I don't know. So it's just something we could look at. Okay. But I did want to kind of buff up the jurisdiction a little bit and give us a little bit more preparation for climate change on some things. And I figured this would be a good year to do that, because people would be like, oh yeah, it has been really wet. That'd be really nice if you could oversee that. Might make it easier.
Yeah.
To pass, I don't know. If I could get a tree bylaw in there right now, I would, but I don't think that's gonna work either.
So when do you want comments back?
If I could have comments, if we were to hold the public hearing on this in September 12th meeting, I have to get it in the paper.
14th meeting.
14th meeting, I have to have it in the paper. So if I could have comments back the week of the 21st. Then I can have an idea of what we're putting in there, so I can get the public hearing posted. And again, taking these in my head, taking some of these from other towns, they've already gone through town council, might make it a little bit easier to get through them as well, and the AG's office.
For what it's worth, timing-wise, I won't be at the meeting on the 14th. But I trust you all to make the best decisions for our town, so. Well, not Jeff, but I trust the rest of you.
If you don't like it, you just vote against it at town meeting.
There you go.
And you're not going to be on the 14th, are you?
No, I'll be here on the 14th, I'm just not here on the 24th, the next
all right.
meeting.
14. Okay. Very good.
It matters.
I'll be here.
That's all that matters.
I have no life.
It's one concert. It just happened to be on a meeting night.
Okey-doke. So, Conservation Office updates.
Beyond the gentleman from Oak Ridge Drive, which I'm happy to hear, that's exactly what we all thought, that he just didn't understand the rules, so that was great. I got a call from Dan in regards to someone cutting trees down at 138 Washington Street. I sent them a letter. It was one of those ones, their 100-foot buffer goes around the house, the front of the house, and down the side of the property. It's one of the new houses across from the high school.
Oh, yeah.
They had a police detail on site when they were cutting the tree down. It was hard to tell if it was, because it was on the side of the property, if it was in that 100-foot, if it was outside the 100-foot. So I just sent them a letter with their plot plan and a copy of the tree policy stating, it's hard to tell driving by. Here's what the lot looks like if you're going to be doing anything. Even if it's close, just give me a call so I don't get called from somebody else and have to investigate it every time. So they had that. Been working on these regulations pretty hard, steady, and just getting pulled in different directions, figuring out different things with dog licenses as well.
Any progress on that?
No, but I did, look, the condo association at Pondview needs to take their dock out and replace it. And I mentioned this to someone in town hall, and they go, oh, well, that's public. Probably it's a public launch. I go, what? So then I got in a rabbit hole of looking up deeds and for that to figure out if it is public property and how that, because that was a ZBA decision to create that condos up there. So I spent half the day yesterday on the Registry of Deeds trying to figure that one out. But there's a CR up there too, which I'm like, I didn't know there was a CR up there. So I'm like, oh, I could update that list and try to find that copy of that. And yeah. I did also hear back from Attorney Alan Shockett for Shaker Mill Pond. In regards to their CR, I emailed him, this was this morning, I emailed him the copy of town council's notes that I had, the only file I had, and I can't remember when that was from. It was from 22? It was a while ago. To make sure he was fine with all of those. And I didn't hear back from him today. When I do, I'll circle it around to everybody and ensure that that's the final copy that you're all fine with. So we can then get that document finalized. And I also asked the question about the baseline for that. So when I hear back from him on that, we can get that one done. Peter DeCarlis for Curly Circle is working with to try to get his baseline document for his, so we can get his street acceptance at fall town meeting.
Okay.
So we're working gradually on getting some of those CRs, the new ones, tied up.
That's good. It's a long process.
It's a long process. I feel like I actually understand the process a little bit more now, so that's nice. I didn't have any idea.
So we don't have to send a formal letter to the ones that are priority ones at the moment, because you're
I'm right on top
doing
of
it.
those.
You're
yeah.
on top.
The only one that I haven't heard back from is for Panther Place, but they are still in the very beginnings of that. So I'll talk to Danny, the town planner, in regards to that, because they should still have the same condition as the other ones did, that they can't get occupancy until the CR is done. Make sure that's still a condition, and we reach out to the developer on that one, so he knows that that's one. And if we need to do any sort of, if the planning board needs to grant anything beyond that, we know we're on top of it.
Okay.
The state has a reviewer now, and then Air Solar 2 is Air Solar 2, so it just keeps raining, so that doesn't help the process.
Anything else?
No, I think that's it.
Member updates?
signs?
What?
Did you order signs?
No, I ordered signs. I ordered signs
Do you want me
tomorrow.
to send an email?
It's the Linden, right?
Lindell.
Lindell. And we need Sandy Pond and Flanagan, right?
Right.
And then, could you send me the contact for who we did for the design? For the Pine Meadow parking area?
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna see if I can get them to design that and have that covered under the grant, because it's a parking area to access,
The sign.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And if she already had the logos and everything that needed to be on it, then I could have her do that. Just have it be a separate sign below it or something if we needed to.
Sure thing.
But just so I have an idea what this, I can get a sign made up from them.
No I in Flanagan.
No, I know.
There's no I in Fletcher's either, is there?
No. And then maybe in the fall, we're getting to end of September, we should try to get that trail committee thing.
Yes. Yeah, we'll schedule another meeting of that,
Yeah.
probably mid-fall. Yeah. When the bugs start to die out a little bit. We'll look at that.
If they ever do.
I'm gonna say this, Air Solo 2 was buggy the last 2 times. This time it wasn't as bad.
Oh yeah, but other places are just,
So I feel like it's starting to die down a little bit because it did dry out for that 1 week.
I have to explain when I run into strangers when I'm walking the dog and I have my
Net
bug
on.
jacket and I'm not in a cult, really.
It's
I'm not- They're horrible.
You just tell them it's a habit.
Oh, one other thing, just so you guys know, you might have seen it. The gas line on Littleton Road has started. They're doing the work at night, though. The DOT, I went and did that inspection last Thursday, the pre-construction meeting, and then I got a call Sunday. My kids were here with me the Monday morning, like, why'd you get a call on a Sunday? You're not here. DOT is making them do the work at night. Because I was supposed to go out and try to witness the drilling, but if they're doing that at night, I will not be there at 2 a.m. watching them do that, so.
Did you have
Where's your dedication?
Thank you.
Did you go look at Willow Road? Like, I keep driving by it and I keep thinking about that. It's like, how are they doing on the
Willow
outfall
Road?
that they're doing? Yeah.
I haven't driven by that just because, I haven't looked. I mean, I did give them some pretty good details when we were out on site, and it's National Grid and all them doing the work. I don't think they're going to do anything poorly
No,
on that.
more the DOT thing,
The DOT.
right? With the drainage.
The drainage, yeah, all
Into
the-
Speckleton.
Yeah, I'll go pick up
Speckleton?
by. Is that road open?
What's that?
Is that road open?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, every time I see the signs, it's like, oh, closed, like, oh.
Well, closed from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., but like I drove by there yesterday when it was in that period where it was supposed to be closed and it was
Okay.
open.
I mean, maybe I'll swing by there and
Yeah.
on my way in
Holiday.
tomorrow, so it's before 9. And I'll see what I can
National Cat
see
Day.
on that.
That's right. It was International Cat Day. That's why it was open.
Yeah, I'll drive by it tomorrow in the morning on my way in.
Yeah, I mean, I can
Take
see
a
like
peek at
they
it.
look like they got some of the riprap down in there and stuff like that. And I'm just
I know they
wondering,
had
and I
to
know
put
that
some stuff in before they took trees
DPW had to put
down.
that oil separator thingy in or whatever.
Well, they're the stormwater stuff, yeah.
Yeah. that
I
whole-
saw them putting that in.
Oh, did you? Okay, good.
I'm gonna name it after you.
Really? Wow. That's okay.
I think they install it with a Phillips screwdriver.
When we went out to go do the walk of the pipeline, the gentleman doing the work was so confused because we parked at the gas station. And he's like, what town are you from? I go, oh, from Ayer. He goes, but we're in Littleton. I go, yes, right now we're in Littleton. I'm like, but we're across the street where those trailers are. I'm like, that's Ayer. And he's like, what? I said, yeah. I'm like, and the campground up there is Littleton.
Yep.
I'm like, but just over the other side of that, the driveway entrance is Ayer. He's like, what? I go, it's really weird. He's like, oh, okay. He had no clue what town he was working in. He thought he was working in Littleton the whole time.
You tell let me take you to El Paso. Let me show you that one. They'll really freak you out. That's Mexico right over there.
So it was funny. He's like, wait, so you're from what town? Here, we're not in Ayer. I said, no, but across the street there. I'm like, but where that excavator's working the parking lot, that's Littleton. But beyond the excavator, that's Ayer.
Anything else? Is it too early to leave?
Nope. All in favor?
Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Passes unanimously.